Hey, I'm Dr. Jenn, and I'm really glad to have you in the den with Dr. Jenn. So what do we have in store for you today? What really happens when you're in love, especially in your brain? What do folks on the street think love means? And I help out a viewer with their question about love. Love, a beautiful feeling, an emotion of the heart, something that can't be explained or understood. Or can it? There's been some fascinating research in the past 10 years about what happens in our brain when we fall in love. During the love process, there's 12 areas of the brain that work together, releasing euphoric chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and vasopressin. One of the things that love's high is most similar to, does anybody know this, when we fall in love, what it's like in our brain? A drug addiction, exactly. It's like a rush that you get from cocaine. Nice work. Because of the dopamine, which is a pleasure chemical, and the activation of our pleasure centers of the brain, and the release of norepinephrine. It can have an addictive feel like cocaine. So think about falling in love with someone. I want you all to think about this right now. And the sex, and the staying up late, and that you actually feel a physical, painful withdrawal if you can't be near them. You focus intently on the relationship and the other person, and very little on anything else. So falling in love acts in a similar way to compulsive disorders and other mental problems. It's kind of like crazy making, yeah. So love also influences the more sophisticated intellectual processes of the brain. For example, things impacted by love are body image, metaphors, and mental representations. So falling in love literally changes how we view the world and ourselves. We've probably all experienced this in some way. So do you think, are there gender differences, you think, between men and women? Yes? Yeah, a lot of nodding a yes. Yes, one of the gender differences researchers found is that women in love had more activity in the areas of their brains connected to reward, emotion, and attention. Men had more activity in areas around visual processing, one of which is associated with sexual arousal. Not surprising. So some scientists argue that we move through this period from about 12 months to a few years of that, romantic love period, because our bodies get accustomed to the love stimulants, and we move and pass through that phase. It's like we build a tolerance, and the passion cools. We all might have experienced that also. So if you think about it, it's actually probably a good thing, because if you kept up that crazy pace, you'd wear your body down, and you'd never be able to have any other big commitments or priorities if that's all you cared about. So at this stage, when you move through it, if the relationship is good enough, folks move into a more lasting love, not based in the same way on passion and excitement, but on comfort, trust, and commitment. And it's more about oxytocin, the chemical it's also known as. Anybody know what it's also known as? Bonding hormone or cuddle hormone, exactly. You know a lot of stuff. So this begs the question, why do we fall in love in the first place? Some researchers, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, propose that this kind of attraction mechanism is an important aspect of, can you guess? Evolutionary psychologists, what do they care about? Reproduction, exactly. Because it focuses our energy on a specific other, and it allows for a connection and therefore time to be able to take care of a helpless infant together. Otherwise, if you had no connection, you'd just move on. So I know this isn't the most romantic perspective on love, because we like to think that it's magical and special. And knowing that this is how we are programmed to respond can be a buzzkill. But it also gives us some insight into why we do such crazy things for love. Sexual fun fact. According to recent research at Syracuse University on love and the human brain, how long does it take for the average person to fall in love? What do you think?
1 week, 2 hours.
5 minutes.
2 hours, first sight.
2 hours, first sight, 6 months, a year? What do you think? Yeah? What'd you say back there?
First sight.
There you go. You got your passion fruit lube. Woo! So according to a recent research using fMRI scans, get that right, on people's brains as they're falling in love, the answer is, and this was shocking to me, less than a second. So it seems that there's an instant of realization and things change in your brain. And this shows strong support for the concept of love at first sight. I found this incredibly shocking. There seem to be so many differing opinions about what love is or means. So we hit the streets of Pacific Beach in San Diego to ask you. Now it's time for San Diego's Sexy Street Talk.
Have you ever been in love, and how do you know what love is?
Yes, I've been in love, and you don't. That's the thing with it, is you don't really know. Is it just kind of happens one day, and then you realize no matter what the person does or how they treat you, you still end up having feelings for them.
Ooh, love. Yes, I would have to say I have been in love. I've had that experience, and love means to me trust.
So how do you know the difference of not being in love and then being in love?
Well, if I trust you, I can imagine that my love is real.
Yeah, I've been in love, and I just remember thinking that you think about the other person more than you do about yourself usually.
Yes, I have been in love, and I define it as being completely comfortable with yourself. And that's how I feel with him. Oh.
So you better say that, yes, you've been in love too.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So cut the interview.
So I have fans that write to me, and I like to include some of them here, my Dear Dr. Jen letters. So my friend Darcy is here, and she's going to read one of the letters pretending she is that fan.
Dear Dr. Jen, I think I'm in love, but I'm not really sure. How can I be sure that I'm really in love with someone? Thank you, Confused with Love.
Thank you. Dear Confused with Love, such a good question, clearly relevant to what we're talking about here. So I hope that my Den chat discussion about love helped give you some insights on what love is and feels like, but I know that doesn't necessarily help us each as individuals decide for ourselves what love is. You know, how do we describe something that we don't even have words for necessarily, and that seems to make us kind of crazy? So I know for myself what this means, but how do I say that for somebody else? So my first question is then, why do you need to know? Perhaps it's more important to focus on what you do know. So, such as, is the relationship good? Does it feel good? Are you treated well? Do you treat your partner well? Are you enjoying yourself and growing? Do you feel heard and understood and respected? Does your partner bring out the best in you? You know, over time, I think we all gain our own understandings of what it is to be in love. But until then, focus on whether it's an emotionally and physically healthy connection for you, and focus on what you do know and you can trust. Otherwise, the best answer I can give is a great recommendation for books that offer an emotionally mature perspective on personal growth and on love and relationships. And they are If the Buddha Dated, or If the Buddha Married. Some of you have heard of this, it sounds like, by Charlotte Castle. These books are practical, playful, down-to-earth, and honest, and they do a wonderful job of helping us discern what is healthy and emotionally mature love, and to help you figure out what it means to you. So I want to thank you to our live audience for being here to talk about sex. Yay! And thank you to Underground Furniture in San Diego's Pacific Beach for providing the sexy den furniture that you see here. And you can visit them online at undergroundfurniture.com. If you want to find me online, you can go to DrJennsDen.com or to Facebook or Twitter at DrJennsDen. Now don't miss the silly or shocking outtakes after the credits. And as always, be kind to yourself. the Pacific Beach, oh crap.